So, hi everybody. We're here with Kevin. And, well, first things first, we're finishing summertime. And we are here with a Leo sun, Leo rising. Leo is ruled by the sun, so the sun is kind of making his farewell days to give space for, let's just not call it darkness, but a little bit darker.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into Advent mode pretty soon,
Yeah.
and I love that also. So first, I'm kind of the person who likes that the guest presents himself in the way that he wants. In You imagine what do you want to say to everybody about yourself, like as an introduction.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm Kevin Hawkins. I always say my accent is American, but I'm not really. So I grew up in Washington, D.C., in the Netherlands. My mom is from West Africa, in a country called Liberia. My dad is American and Dutch. I grew up in Australia, spent some time in the Netherlands, and the Philippines as well. So quite like a third culture kid of the world. Um, I'm a director and executive in design and research. I'm a kayaker. I like to cook and dance. I really like to explore new cultures, meet new people, kind of compare and contrast our lives.
Great. Love it. I mean, love it. So, my interview will start with your first house, you know? Because your first house is packed. It's packed, basically, so we're gonna start there, you know? So, you have your sun there in your first house as a Leo, and you have your rising there as a Leo, and you also have Mercury there. So, my first question is, how do you experience yourself as a child? You know?
As a kid, I was always super, super outgoing. I think that I was like full of personality, like on TV shows they have like Miss Congeniality. Like I was
Mhm.
always kind of entertaining people and making friends easily and saying hello. Kind of lots of unfiltered thoughts, asking questions people maybe keep to themselves. Big smile, yeah,
Okay.
high energy, yeah.
So, for example, did you felt that everyone around you took well this energy? That you being kind of like the center of attention?
I always gravitated towards like adults, like adult women,
Mm-hmm.
actually, when I was
Mm-hmm.
young. Um, More empathetic, more inquisitive, willing to like answer my
Uh-huh.
questions. Um, I kind of always felt a bit awkward around people who didn't want to discuss or debate anything or
Uh-huh.
didn't have strong opinions about things. So no, I definitely didn't feel welcome in every circle.
Uh-huh.
There's like a kid should be seen, not heard thing that I
Mm-hmm.
came up against a lot. But yeah, it generally was like a happy-go-lucky kid. Things went really bad, like we had like a really, I'd say, difficult childhood. I always found a way to be happy anyways, or at least kind of focus on the positive.
So you felt that there was something inside you that besides the kind of like sometimes hard exterior, you needed to protect from your like of yourself,
Yeah, a little
you
bit.
know. So you because like I actually feel that at some point my childhood, like as any childhood, were kind of different. But there's one, there's some people that tend to be, oh, I'm gonna adapt just to not get like annoyed.
Yeah.
And there's the other ones who's like, okay, I'm not gonna adapt. I'm gonna like put myself out there, but then maybe sometimes in a more positive manner or whatever, to protect yourself. So did you felt when you were a kid
Hmm.
this sense of I need to protect my my energy, I need to shine, and for example, no matter what the circumstance is, I have to be myself? Or did you felt at some point in some years that you needed to, okay, I will shut down a little here because maybe I can be, I don't know, harmed,
Um,
emotionally harmed.
I'd say yes to both in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always very much someone who was an open book.
Okay.
So I didn't really keep things in or hide them very long. Um, yeah, I always felt the need to be myself. I was very
It
outspoken.
was bigger than you.
Yeah.
Basically, it was bigger
Yeah.
than you.
Like I couldn't contain it. I was just,
Yeah.
it's who I was, and it was how I was going to be. And some people liked it, some people didn't. We were a bit, it doesn't rub everyone the wrong way, but maybe it makes people reflective of themselves or they compare themselves, and you felt that pretty early. At the same time,
Mm-hmm.
there would be, I don't know, like I was distant with my family quite early,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, I don't know, very independent and had my own opinions and thoughts and goals. So at a certain point when people are like, you can't do that, or this is the way things are done, you start to kind of be positive as a protection in addition to just being yourself.
Okay. So I'm gonna go a little bit later when we get to the house fort with the family issue. But did you felt were you distant with your family physically, or were you felt distant with your family while they're being there sometimes?
Physically.
Okay.
So my parents worked a lot.
Okay.
I was super busy with like sports and piano and lots of like curricular activities,
Okay.
so that they could work longer and I had
Okay.
something to do.
So there were working parents
Yeah.
who believed in like, okay, let's keep this child busy, but we cannot keep him busy ourselves.
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly.
Okay, get it. So, was there someone in your childhood that you felt inclined to as a role model, family member or no family member? Who was the person that you would like kind of learn a lot from this person?
Mhm.
Who was it? Because you talked about strong women,
Yeah.
and so I want to know that.
Yeah. So I never met any of my grandfathers.
Okay.
So my grandmothers were big in my childhood and they're still alive now.
Mhm.
So my life was ruled by strong women.
Mhm.
My dad remarried.
Uh-huh.
So I have two moms. I have
At what age?
My dad remarried when I was, I guess, 6 or 7.
Okay.
So she's been in our lives for like 26-ish years.
Mhm.
So I have my mom, I have my stepmother, I have both grandmothers,
Mhm.
and then my dad's mom has
Mhm.
5 sisters.
Oh.
So very strong women are all around me.
Okay. Good.
But my mom's mom was the one that I was closest with growing up.
Okay.
So she kind of helped raise me. My mom was super busy, so
Uh-huh.
physically kept me busy, kept me in school, educating after school hours, cooking, things like this.
But do you felt her like? Do you felt her like? Oh, she's not just doing a job. She's like my friend.
Yes.
How do you felt her?
I mean, her and I were kind of inseparable for a while.
Okay.
So it was like my dog, her, and myself just going on adventures.
Okay.
And, she found out things before my family found out things,
Yeah.
about me, about my day, about fears, goals, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you have more brothers and sisters?
I have a stepbrother. So
Okay.
my brother is from my stepmother.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So another one. Is your grandmother still alive?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know how that relationship has evolved through the years.
Sure. So my mom's mom is Liberian, so
Mhm.
very traditional,
Mhm.
let's say society. She came with her family to the U.S. without her husband in 1983, 1984. She's a Libra.
Oh.
She's like, she keeps the peace. Ironically, I have some
Sometimes.
overlaps with her as well in terms of the kind of, is it really worth the energy kind of question do you ask yourself?
She's a Libra.
Yeah, so she like threads the needle on like what is the most efficient thing to do, like what's a must, what's a nice to have, what are we
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
So
Oh, she must have been a great hostess.
yes, awesome. Really amazing cook. tries to avoid controversy. Everyone needs to feel comfortable. Doors always open kind of mentality.
Like uh, something like ignited on me because like you have your moon in Libra,
Hmm.
okay? So traditionally, the moon also represents the motherly energy that you get when you're a child. So
Okay.
because like
Okay.
so, um, what sign is your mother?
My mom's a Leo.
Okay, so
She's a
this-
triple Leo, actually.
oh
She's
my god,
quite fiery.
oh my god. I don't think I'm gonna go there.
It's a
dude.
volcano.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go there right now. Okay, but like yeah. But the moon, maybe now that you say all this kind of time spent with your grandma, it felt to me like it was meant to be in some way because kind of um, the moon energy like represents now the way you like to be taken care of, in the sense
Yeah.
of like what keeps you comfortable, what keeps you calm in some sense, in a childish way, like what the things that you go to when you need to get calm, and that reminds you of your childhood, the positive things. So it is interesting for me to like make that connection. So, okay, I'm gonna go. Now we're in this topic, and I have it here actually in that order to house four,
Okay.
which is the house of family and ancestors, lineage,
Okay.
what you consider your house now. So I would like to know, what do you know that about your ancestors, your family lineage? What is the thread there that goes into your life?
So, nationality-wise, I'm super aware.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom is Liberian. Her mom's
Mhm.
Liberian. They
Mhm.
came to the States in '84, so I'm very aware of like when they arrived in America.
Okay. So
And-
new immigrants, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And their whole family is Liberian.
Mhm.
So it's a very strong, say, verbal history
Mhm.
in West Africa. So people tell stories, and it's kind of like lore,
Mhm.
folk tales, things like this. So, my grandmother had like 11 sisters and was married, and both the parents and everyone is from the same place.
Okay.
And then on my dad's side, it's quite interesting.
Uh-huh.
So my dad comes from a really large family, like larger than my mom's family.
Oh, well, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it's already it's like his mom has 5 sisters. Imagine
Oh,
like the
yeah.
number of kids, the number of grandkids that they all have together. So a lot of kids.
Okay.
And then if you go really far back, it would be like 1801, 1802. There's a mix in the family. Like, so I'm dark in complexion, my skin color. My dad is much closer to your complexion.
Okay.
So we're very aware that there was a time when there was a mix, and we found out that it's like part Dutch.
Okay.
But this is like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And they never moved. So
Mm.
my dad's entire family lives within like 2 kilometers of each other,
Okay. Yeah.
and then my mom's family lives in like 9 countries. So
Okay.
very opposite kind of energies in my 2 families.
Where did you grew up?
I grew up living, like going to school and walking
Mhm,
in the U.S.
Okay.
But then every summer, so about half the year, we would spend in another country. So either in the Caribbean or the Philippines, the Netherlands. or
Okay.
Italy.
So yeah.
So
Okay.
my dad's from the Navy, so.
Okay. Okay. So I'm curious about the how did your parents met?
Yeah. So my parents had a very, let's call it, hot and fast relationship.
Okay.
So my mom was living in the U.S., going to university after moving to the States. And then my dad was working in the military, stationed in the capital, doing some high security jobs, let's say, involving elected officials.
Did he fit at this job? he was like
security.
okay, was he like very, strict?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like drill sergeant strict, but close.
Okay.
Like I would say very there's one way to do things.
Very
Very
conditioned
conditioned.
to what
Yeah.
rules are.
Yeah, kids are for helping with labor on the house.
Okay.
And, you know,
Okay.
we organized closets, mowed the lawn, painted
Uh-huh.
fences. You know, we
Okay.
worked hard. We cleaned, we cooked, we were self-sufficient.
Did you felt that as normal or like a super imposition and you try to rebel all the time through to him?
I think before I knew that it was not everyone's childhood, that I thought it was like, okay, this is what it is. I guess this is
Okay.
fine.
So you're going to your friends' houses and everyone was serving them and actually you were the one serving in your house? That's kind of like the vibe?
Here's the funny thing is like my mom culturally never really believed in like people going over to other people's houses unless
Yeah.
the parents had met each other.
Uh-huh.
Because my parents worked so much, they never really met the other parents, so
Mhm.
we were not allowed to like go over because
Okay.
the parents didn't know each other. So I
Okay.
never really had this comparison until maybe 10 when we started to move a lot more.
Uh-huh.
And I met a lot more people who maybe didn't have the same parents that I had,
Mhm.
like maybe different professions, different
Mhm.
backgrounds. And then I started to compare very quickly. I'm like, oh, one, in movies, two, in the people you meet, and three, you're like,
Yeah.
so kids have PlayStations, and they have games, and they have free times, and they do things that they want to do for hobbies, and they're not like doing school after
Oh.
school, or like more schoolwork, or learning
Oh.
another grade, or, you know. So we were hanging out mostly with our own family, and
Mhm.
my friends were hanging out with like teammates and, you know, going to each other's houses.
Mhm.
So it was super clear, like around 9, 10.
Okay. Yeah, because you have in this house Pluto, you know,
Okay.
and Pluto, besides representing transformation, death, and rebirth in this area, also it could represent tension with your father, because
Okay.
the house 4 represents father more than mother. House 10 is more like mother, but house 4 is like father. And Pluto there is like, it needs to be transformative energy here in able to better express this house. So when you said earlier that you felt this willing to be more independent, you know, was it related to father relationship?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So my parents divorced when, let's say, they separated when I was 3 or 4,
Mm-hmm.
and their divorce was quite messy. It took
Okay.
a long time, so
Uh-huh.
several years. My parents fought over custody of me.
Oh.
They fought over money. They fought over a lot of things, and I was quite distant with my father because of this. I kind of took sides.
You were there. You were there with your mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
The default, especially in the
Mhm.
U.S., the default is the mother gets custody until there's
Yeah, the default.
evidence otherwise.
Yeah.
So my dad challenged. Then there's all this investigation into like
Oh.
parenting styles and
Oh.
child's happiness and all these
Yeah.
things.
And when you aware of all these things at that age.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was quite, and I kind of always was more drawn to like older people, older friends,
Mhm,
older
mhm.
students, older adult women.
Mm-hmm.
So I was quite aware of the world
Mhm.
in that way quite
Yeah.
early,
Yeah.
and I also read people's emotions very
Yeah.
easily. So.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't directly involved in court cases, but
Mhm.
and like let's say the first several years, but then later on, you know, you overhear conversations and you're able to
Mhm.
apply context, and you can tell people's moods are shifting, and a lot of conflict, let's just say. And so I kind of associated my father with this early on, and then when my dad got remarried, as a kid, I was super confused by this
Mhm.
concept of
Oh.
like,
After marriage.
wait, but you can have a wife again, and what about
Okay.
the sanctity of marriage and the promises and the commitments and like
After all, you fought for it anyway.
yeah,
You know.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you know, my brother was born very quickly after, so
Ah.
I felt like I was being replaced, and
Yeah.
so yeah, we were quite distant for a while.
Yeah. And what during this turbulent time when your parents were breaking up, what was your safe space? Getting in touch with other people, or like did you have like do you remember having a place to decompress or an activity to decompress? What was that?
Yeah, so again, I was always super active as a kid,
Uh-huh.
so high energy, meeting people, always saying hello. So I kind of got involved in things quite easily. You know, if if you say hello to someone and they're doing something, I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Like, tell me about it, you know.
Yeah.
So I was playing sports a lot. I really hated sports. Sports was more of an outlet that my dad thought would be, you know, appropriate for his son.
Yeah.
I was not a big fan.
Yeah.
I excelled playing piano, playing cello, arts, and then maybe when I was around in my early, I think mid-teenager years, got really into like tech, coding, computer science stuff.
So you basically said, no more outgoing. I'm gonna turn inwards, and now that I have this computer where life is like some other. It's like it's another reality.
Yeah, it's like an escape, right?
It's another reality.
It's like first the piano's an escape because like it's not a. Generally, if you play piano, you play by yourself. You practice by yourself. You maybe perform in a group, but it's you know, it's different than being in a room of like 5 trumpets or something like this, like a band. And then I stopped doing team sports because I was focusing on you know, musical instruments. And then when I found the computer, I was like, you can reinvent who you are. You can reinvent how the world sees you, how you see the world. You can access information, and yeah, it was.
It's kind of like all in one without having to leave the room, basically. Yeah, that's what I see. You know, that's what I see. So okay, so I wanna have all this now that I have all this information, I wanna ask you, how do you express or do you channel the concept of family now? You know, because having Jupiter here, because Jupiter is the great benefactor, everything, wherever Jupiter is, it's expands, you know, and it could be expanded in a positive way or in a negative way, but it's traditionally seen as a positive thing. So the house where Jupiter lies, which is in your case the house of family, ancestors, lineage, home, is kind of like the house that you're gonna be expanding, you know. So I want to hear your thoughts on the concept that you have of family now, and also the concept that you have of home now.
Yeah, those two are very big parts of my life, and also kind of.
I can sense it. I can sense that it has an importance through your experience of the human experience, basically.
It's also very heavy. Okay, so going back to when I was 9, having my mom's family is like moderately sized. My dad's family is quite large. You know, there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of fall into the shadows and like. You know, people forget about you very easily.
Well, that's what Leo would say.
I'm on the spot.
For a Scorpio, wouldn't be any problem, you know.
Yeah, it's just like, hello, I'm here.
But to shine too much for these people. Okay.
So there was always these moments where like I was like the first grandchild, and therefore I got all the attention, and then all the other grandchildren came. When I was 9, it was a really tragic summer. There were 10 deaths in the family within a 4-month period.
Wow.
On both sides, like total.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was quite
intense.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I had older friends, but then it made me really question life. Something about having mostly older friends and getting along with mostly older people. Again, I'm like 10, and I'm getting along with like 40-year-olds in grocery stores. You know, you're like, wait, they can die. You know, like.
Also, you got very in front of the concept of the limit, the period of time that life ends, which is something that you as a kid or as a teenage didn't even think about.
No, I mean, I was like, I go new places every day. I meet new people. I say hello. They're so friendly. They like seeing me. I like seeing them. It's great. I'm always going to be able to do this. We moved a lot, so I was always. This was a skill that I kind of learned quickly, so I didn't feel alone, to like make friends quickly and be the new guy, the new kid. And then the concept of, what if those people who I saw last year, 2 years ago when I moved last time, what if they aren't there when I go back? What if they've died? What if...
So you're even thinking about it at this age?
Yeah. Okay. And then seeing your own family pass away is quite, you don't really think of your own family in terms of age, because you're like, I was born, you were there, you're going to be there forever, you know? So that was quite hard.
Oh.
And that's why I built up both because of moving a lot and because of
Mhm.
the summer, a lot of self-confidence in a
Mhm.
particular way. Not
Mhm.
necessarily self-esteem,
Mhm.
but more like I only have one life. I need to live my version of this life. I have no idea how long it's gonna last.
Mhm.
And then in addition, I really need to meet other people who I feel
Mhm.
like I'm a good fit for.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
like maybe I can't only be friends with people who are 30 years older than me.
Mhm.
If I
Mhm.
want to have people around to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
build things
yeah.
with for long term.
So we're aware of this time limiting concept in the
Yeah,
end.
bit of a fear, but also a bit of like
Yeah, I was like
a
thinking,
lesson.
mm, did this experience or this thought process that you thought for yourself would be like a way of adaptation made you more present, or did you become more anxious about it?
Hmm,
Because
that's a great question.
yeah, yeah, it could balance out because like for someone I imagine could make you a little anxious if I as a kid, it's not my nature to think that things are going to end because like when you're a kid you naturally are more present, you start to get a little anxious about what you said, knowing that who knows if I'm gonna see this person again, or it could happen that oh, if I'm gonna, if this is life, I'm gonna go super present and experience every moment like it will never come back. So
Yeah.
what happened to you there?
It's funny how you describe it. I see a bit
Uh-huh.
of both, but more
Uh-huh.
more of the present, more of the YOLO
Okay.
kind of behavior.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Love it.
yeah. So, my mom ran a small business. I was
Mhm.
super involved in it.
Oh, business of what?
She's a fashion designer, but
Okay.
at the time she was more of like a seamstress and things like this,
Uh-huh.
less like a separate business. But
Just
she,
creating.
just creating.
Just creating.
And so I was very creative as a kid. So I was always, talking to people, and I was like, you should meet my mom, or my mom does this, or I have an idea.
So you were personal PR.
Yeah. I was like, you should make me these pants. I love these pants, or like this backpack. So I got super involved in the business, and I got very outspoken about kind of being more involved in like the family business. The second thing that happened is I became more aware of myself, and I was like, maybe I'm not being my most true self because, I'm like, oh, I have time, and that kind of idea of having time went away. So I said, well, I might as well, be myself now, and if I have questions, I should express them. And so I had questions
Okay.
about me being gay and all these things.
What age was this? 9?
No, when I officially came out, I was 13.
Okay, so it's the era of 11, 12, 13, like
Yeah.
preteen.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
perfect.
My mom, who everyone thought would be perfectly okay with this, being like a fashion designer with like gay employees and working in fashion, was super, super homophobic.
Oh my god.
Maybe as a reaction to maybe traditional African ideals of like the nuclear family is the kind of most sacred thing in African culture for the last 3,000 years. So what does that mean for the legacy? of
What
the family?
about her sisters, for example? How did they take it?
Everyone in my mom's family was quite neutral, except for my grandmother, my mom's mom, whom I felt was a very close friend.
Oh,
just
yeah.
earlier. So it quite felt like betrayal in that moment. And it almost felt like her reaction dictated the reaction of the entire family.
Oh.
So like a matriarch kind of
Oh.
vibe. My mom there was always this energy where you knew that deep down she loved you and it didn't matter as much, but you couldn't express that publicly because of the perception.
Conditioning.
Yeah, conditioning, nature versus nurture, this whole thing.
And
So
also the fact that things that we see today, I've seen it a lot of times, that some girls are like super cool with the gayness until it touches
them. Yeah.
You
like
know?
their brother, their
Like
dad,
the brother,
or whatever.
their dad, like
Yeah.
yeah. And that is, it's a real eye opener in general for a gay person,
Yeah.
Because for a gay person, it's a real eye opener because like sometimes you have girlfriends and they're like, oh my god, you're my gay friend, and especially when you're a teen and you want to feel accepted and you're like, and they're like, oh my god, this is great, and you don't know what that means.
No,
Later,
exactly.
so it's just like, oh my god, I'm being accepted by all these girls, they think I'm cool, blah blah blah. But it's kind of like then I realized the fact that what they go through as women, you know, in general life when they're alone on their or when they're with their girlfriends or when there's straight male around, it's different having a male present that is not a threat, and also um, having this security that visually on the outside a man gives to a woman, she can walk more confident on the street, you know. So
Yeah.
it's total for them like a survival skill in the end, until
Mhm.
they realize what it means too. But in the
That's a good
teen
point.
years,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
It's easy.
this kind of, because I mean, life in the end for everyone is a negotiation of power.
Yeah.
So we have to know how we can take from something and what are we gonna give to someone. So
Yeah. What do you lose? What do you get?
yeah, and that changes, and well, when everybody grows up and starts seeing the deep meaning of things, then you tend to like, well, solidify some knowledge anyway. So that's, for example, uh, I think there's a tendency, for example, that some gay men in their spaces feel more comfortable without women having their bachelorette parties there, you know? Kind of like, you know? I don't know how you feel about it, but like at the beginning it was like, oh, but I understand where it comes from. It could be.
I saw this happen yesterday.
I did, it did?
And I had this thought in my head, and I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, this is that scenario people talk about so much. Because, like, rarely am I annoyed by it, but I think there's moments when it depends on the balance of the room, you know?
Yeah.
I think when you're in a room and there's like 100 gay guys and there's like 4, you know, friends who are girls or who are straight cis girls who come, okay, that's one thing. It's
And they're
different-
commanding the attention.
It's different when like they're a friend
Yeah.
of a gay guy, or they're
Yeah,
there
yeah,
with a group
yeah,
of people,
yeah.
right? Who are part of the community that you're in the environment for. It's different when they come with their own community. Let's say like 7 other straight girls who have 7 boyfriends, you know, and then you're like, wait, but it feels like a fifth of the room is now straight people who have no interest in connecting with everyone else here.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that is generally where my lack of comfort comes from.
Well, all this came with the reaction that your mother had.
Yeah.
It's all threading there, you know.
Yeah,
I feel
you
it.
know.
I feel it. I understand it some way, you know. I think my mother had the same thing, you know. She was kind of uh, she separated herself a little bit from me, you know, and started to see, uh, oh, realizing that I didn't fit in where her mind took her
Mhm.
before of
The
like,
assumptions.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Your first child, for example, I'm first child, and they think you are gonna be the new patriarch of the fucking family.
Yeah, the legacy will
Sorry,
continue.
for that, the legacy or whatever. However they envision, they see you as some kind of like, oh, the new generation of the ruler,
Yeah.
basically. Anyway, so I put that thing behind.
The dynasty
But then, yeah.
continues.
But the thing is, like, yeah, but like the fact that you have in this house, the fourth house, the family house that we talked, a Scorpio, it's also very reflective on that topic, because Scorpio in this house, it's very comfortable. It's the Cancer house, you know, it's a water house. You have to go deep into this subject anyway, you know. And I want to know. I'm going to go back to the earlier question of what it means family to you now and what it means home to you now.
Yeah. So I'll start backwards because home is easier to describe. As a person who moves a lot, I moved a lot as a kid. I built this habit of moving a lot in general. So I've lived in a lot of different places, traveled to like 70 countries. Home is definitely more of a feeling than a physical location. So like some of my best memories and some of my closest friends live in Amsterdam. And so I now associate Amsterdam with the word home, more so than Washington,
Yeah.
D.C., or even when I was in California for 5 years. home was Amsterdam.
Okay.
And it's almost directly tied to the first question. So,
Okay.
family for me is mostly now chosen family,
Yeah.
you know? So, I have maybe twice moved where I've cried, both of them tied to the feeling of like leaving
Leaving
family,
family. Yeah.
you know? So leaving Amsterdam, leaving San Francisco were both these kind of realizations that,
Mhm.
oh, what if this is like that year when I was 9 and
Yeah.
what if I don't see these people ever again?
Yeah.
Like there's no guarantee it's gonna happen tomorrow. But these are the people who mean the most to me in the world, you know? So family now is, let's say, 80% chosen family, and then I have my very, very tight, close circle of like my brother, my stepmom, my mother, my dad.
Where you
and then-
choose to relate to more deeply anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna go a little back to house number 3. Now we're not talking about um, family anymore. So your house 3 is the house of communications, the naturally ruled house of Gemini, and you have your moon there, and you also Libra in that house because your moon is in Libra. So I want to know what makes you feel emotionally comfortable. I'm coming back to this concept that I talked to you about the moon,
Okay.
Like, imagine that you have your blanket when you were a kid and you
Yeah.
go home and like, oh my god, this is my blanket, my mother gave it to me, and I'm like, oh, just there,
Okay.
there. What is in the present moment, what gives you that feeling now?
Saying the present moment makes me want to change my answer that I have in my head, but I'll explain both.
Yeah,
Um,
feel free.
my comfort comes from work because my job is communications design. um,
I mean, we are in that house, the
Yeah.
moon is there, everything's super obvious, but
So
I
it
want
makes-
you to explain it.
it doesn't feel like work to me,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
Trying.
work is a wonderful word.
Yeah.
Let's not stigmatize it at all. It's what keeps us alive. It's also what we give to the universe. So
Yeah, it's the legacy
Yeah.
I'm going to have.
Yeah.
It's wasting most of
it
my
keeps
time.
you healthy.
Yeah. Like my job, my career is very much tied to a passion of mine. And I always say I would still have this job even if it didn't pay well, and it's very lucky that it does. In the sense that like
That's because
I'm
that's
super
the
happy.
consequence.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the consequence.
Like, I love what
Yeah.
I do, therefore
Whatever
I
you
find
love.
success doing it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because my whole job is to make things be intuitive, which means I need to understand how people think, how they react to things, what motivates them, and then turn that into services, products, features, functionality, and it brings me so much joy because I have to get into the mind of different people,
Yeah.
and so like the experience of traveling and meeting new people and being from 3 or 4 different cultures myself. Trying to make things intuitive or obvious or organic takes a lot of work, right? It's very simple to make a simple thing work for one person. It's very hard to make work for most people.
But you said, for example, earlier that it came very intuitive to you as an early age, and I feel that is your Libra energy because like Libra energy, it's all about the we,
Yeah.
how we fit in here, So communication, it's always about the we,
Yeah.
and I feel that it, it it's an amazing placement because Libra is super happy in the 3rd house, and I don't know, it's how do you see, for example, the we in a we perspective, we versus the me. How do you see that? How do you deal with that in your work in general? Let's talk at that because you're a communicator.
Okay.
There, where do you draw the limit?
Yeah. So 4 or 5 years ago, I got into public speaking, and it was the real first time that I really put me in my work.
Okay.
Everything else was kind of a service-oriented work, So I go and I interview 1,000 people, and I summarize their beliefs, their wants, their desires, their complaints, and then I kind of am their representative within a company, within a team, building something.
Yeah.
I'm not really the person speaking. I'm speaking for them. I'm their voice. I'm their
voice.
rep.
Yeah.
Until I got into management in my career,
Uh-huh.
I never really had to have a style. Like, it's one kind of job. Like, I go and I
Yeah.
find something people want, I make it as easy as intuitive as possible
Mm.
because I know what they want, what they
Yeah.
need, and then I go home.
Mhm.
But now it became the last 5 years, especially the last 2 years,
Mhm.
what is my perspective on what they want? What is my knowledge, my expertise after talking to hundreds of thousands of the same people over the years, building similar solutions to the same
Mm.
problems? It's a lot more of putting myself forward, pitching
Yeah.
my own ideas, my own concepts, my own beliefs.
And you also
Um,
realize, you basically realize what was your tool set
yeah,
after all these years of experience, basically.
yeah,
And then you're just like, oh, that you comes to this realization that, oh my god, I've unconsciously, because you go with the flow all the time, especially when
yeah,
you're younger, you go with the flow, and then there's some point where you like, look, I have a toolbox set here that I can apply to whatever I really want to manifest in the
yeah,
end. So that was the point where you said, for example, now it comes about me in work.
yeah.
Okay. And how did that translate in the actual world? Did you left the company? Did you change works? Or did you say I'm gonna do this instead of doing that? How it became?
Yeah, so 5 years ago,
Uh huh.
I thought that I would leave the world of design and
Uh huh.
research,
Uh huh.
and I didn't really know what I wanted to do next,
Yeah.
but I was super clear that I was kind of tired of the
Yeah.
service aspect. Like, it
Mhm.
felt like undervalued work, it felt
Mm.
like, you know, I don't know, it felt like unappreciated labor.
Mhm.
And I said, maybe I try something else. But I love what I do and I'm good at what I do, so maybe I stay longer.
Yeah.
And I
There's
think
the security thing
yeah.
that going on, like, oh
And
my
also the
god,
ego,
you have
like
to jump somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like I've also been doing this for a
Mhm.
while, so I have credibility because I've been doing it for a while.
Mhm.
What is it gonna feel like to be a beginner again
Uh-huh.
at something and like
Uh-huh.
bad at something again?
Yeah.
So there's a bit of ego in there. But it actually came to me very naturally when I became a manager, where I was like, oh wait, this is kind of what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
Instead of working on the problems or the feedback of 100,000 people, I'm worried about just these 3 people who they trust me to be their boss, their manager, their confidant. I'm helping them build their careers and giving them good feedback, but I also know their personal lives, and you kind of are shaping yourself around the people to be the best service, like servant leadership for them, right? You're kind of their guardians. And then, speed up 5 years, my last team was 91 people. It's now like, how do I make other leaders lead in that
Yeah.
similar
Yeah,
way, like
because it's too much,
compassionate,
yeah.
empathetic, and not just be these corporate,
Yeah.
people who just check in, check out every
Yeah,
day.
no, that's the worst. I mean, you need to be kind of like empathetic to them, that they also feel that they belong to something bigger. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that feeling is great when you're in a company that they give it to you. It's only kind of like, so I don't know, where I work, I think they fail in that, in the sense that it's more words than real actions. So you have to take it to real action in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the level lamp moving? No, it's not moving anymore.
It's not really lobbying a lot.
So this lava lamp is supposed to start moving and like making his way up and down. So it's getting warmer. We're gonna trust the universe that the kinetic energy is gonna go there.
Everything's up, which is funny because
And it's good. As long as it's up.
up is,
As long
up
as
is
it's
great.
up is great.
Things have to go down at some point.
Oh yeah, but like I'm not really here when it's down.
Okay.
Okay, so this work topic, I'm gonna take it.
Fell.
Is it?
It just fell.
We talked, and it happened.
Bubbles.
See, we talked. God listened, made it happen.
Okay.
Well, this is what I love about this.
Looking forward to it.
It's gonna move all over the place. Maybe we'll see it in the heaven anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Now we're talking this topic of work and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to house 6, because house 6 is a house particularly that I personally value very much, because it's very useful in the human experience in the end. because it's the house of your daily routines, it's the house of
Okay.
health, it's the house of Virgo. So basically, the little details of
Okay.
what goes on in whatever you put out and how you organize that, you know?
Okay.
It's super important because uh, we all know that routine in general is important. Healthy routines, work routines, relationship routines, and our connection to all the material things like give us to do that. It's kind of like what it's your Monday to Friday. Let's just say it that way, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have here Capricorn. You're Capricorn in this area of your life, and you also, as a planet, had Uranus and Neptune. Okay, which I haven't seen people with these two planets in this house because these two planets are kind of like very intense concept. Okay,
Okay.
it's not concepts that go a little with like daily stuff, but of course you can apply it to everything. So that's what we're gonna process now. So um, there's an energy here with Uranus of because Uranus is the planet of the groundbreaking things. You know, it's the futuristic planet.
Okay.
It's the groundbreaking things. It's let's do the things in a different way to empower our collective. Okay? So there's an energy here that it's about thinking outside the box. And having Neptune here, which is a planet that is very artistic, gives an artistic tone to all of this. So it just these two energies put together in this house mean that very methodically and like a Capricorn, because the Capricorns are very methodic and like very goal oriented and step by step people. They don't believe of getting somewhere without the hard work. Okay? So in that area of your daily routines, because we know you're involved in design and art, and that is just like plasmated here all over the place with this and also with Leo, because Leo is artistic in general and
Creative.
a lot in creative anyway. So I want to know, I want you to talk to me about your creative process. How is in your mind? How do you express it in general? Do you have a pattern? And also, linked to that, your creative process, what are your main sources of inspiration in general? How do you get your inspiration?
Okay. Yeah. Easy for me to answer. It's funny the way you describe this because I don't like routines.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of my biggest weakness.
Because, well, I'm going to tell you right now because Neptune is also a planet that gives fogginess to everything. Right? Yeah. Because Neptune likes to, for example, very Neptunian people are super tend to go addictive way to substance
Okay.
or to like evade themselves to reality. They don't like that. So of course daily routines could be a burden, but I figured you as a very creative person and also kind of like successful because you manage yourself basically. But for me, that's the definition of success. To be able to manage yourself, you're good to go, you know. So you have, I mean, you might have struggled with all this energy of like not wanting to do those things or not. But let's go.
Okay.
You're telling me you have a hard time dealing with routines. How is that?
Okay.
Let's go.
So I love my job and I love the way I
Mhm.
live my life, mostly because every day is different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would die in my soul doing the same thing every day.
Okay.
So routines are kind of my antithesis.
But you just
some-
say doing the same thing every day.
Yeah. Like, I love that my job is always different. It's the same job, but it's it's so dependent on who I'm talking to that day.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing research or something, it's a different topic or goal the next time I do it. So it's not always the exact same thing. I oftentimes, let's be honest, don't stay at the same company for more than like 3 years usually, because I like new challenges and new coworkers, new alliances, new people to work with. So yeah, like I'm not super good at routines. I think it's similar in my like fitness. Like I don't really go to the gym regularly. Like I go with the flow. My flow generally is me, not other people. Like, what do I feel like I need today? And if I feel like I really need like a shot to the system, it's like let's go swimming in the sea, let's go kayaking. I need to be expressive today. Let's go to like some life drawing class or something. So it's always I leave a little bit of room for spontaneity, but ironically, I keep myself quite busy doing constantly new things every day. Because of my lack of routine organically, I do schedule myself a lot. Otherwise, I will be late to everything and I will lose myself to 1,000 new things. So I try to make sure, of course, I keep my job, keep my friends, and then the rest of the time that's left I find for inspiration, which for me is travel, architecture, and then like cultural immersion. So with the travel, it's super cool because I try to do two things on all my trips. I try to learn how that society, that culture, that region, how they dance. It doesn't have to be tied to music. I was having a debate yesterday about this.
Like the movement?
Yeah, it's like just movement, right? Because sometimes a culture is a reaction to a particular environment. So maybe if there's like a tribal dance, like that dance can be separated from any of the songs playing. That's a dance you do for any celebration or whatever, and so it has a meaning by itself. So I quite like understanding these nuances. And the second thing is food. I love to figure out what people cook and what it means to them. Again, part of this whole like always moving, being the outsider, being the giri, the gaijin, the kind of like the kid that doesn't belong, doesn't fit. I love to kind of go and understand more and more and more people as a sense of inspiration.
Okay, and yeah, I love that, and I love the fact that you said these two things like food, which is a very essential thing in life in general, and like the dance, because like I was thinking Latin America, for example, versus North European countries. I mean, their dances are totally different. But I mean, the essence is the same. It's everybody wanting to express,
Sure.
But actually, movement in general is really tied, I think, to the coldness of the environment. Anyway, like for example, Latin America, if you have like the tropical warmth, you're gonna move your hips more, and then the other ones are like more hands and legs going like up and down.
Generation.
I love that. How would you describe your way of dancing? How would you describe it if you have to put it somewhere?
My way
Put
of
it
dancing?
somewhere. Yeah, your way of dancing.
I'm quite performative, so I find this is very similar to my job, which is now a pattern. I don't think I have my own style.
Yeah.
I think I'm like a mixture of what I'm exposed to. So, yeah, like growing up, I was always a fond of like school dances or weddings. Like I love weddings because I love dancing at the reception.
Yeah.
And like anytime I can like dance in front of people, like very Leo, right?
Yeah.
Just like look at me, I've learned how to do this thing very well. Feel free to join, but let me go first. I think that's kind of my general philosophy for dancing. It's like whatever it feels right. Like I like lots of music. I speak a couple languages, so I like music from different places, and therefore the dancing I do is kind of maybe based on what's playing or who's around. But yeah, I'm very expressive. Lots of movement, lots of high energy. I like to involve other people.
Love it.
So.
Love it. Because what you said is a very important Leo evolutional kind of like tree, because you're here to express yourself in order to make everyone comfortable with expressing themselves. You know, do you feel that? Do you feel that you generate that in the other? Like, when they see you, for example, do they see you? Because like this is a very intern. I mean, and I'm not trying to, for example, here make it sound like they're imitating you or anything. You do it because of that. I say it because uh, you can tell at some point when you have the Leo energy that if you um, make room for yourself to express who you really want to what you really want to express, it just breaks some kind of ice around you, and everyone feels comfortable to do the same with them, and you not trying to outstage them or anything. It's just like trying to make them do it with you. Do you feel like that? You know?
Yeah.
Do you feel that that happens with you?
It happens a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, again,
Are you comfortable with that?
yeah, like I'm outgoing in the sense that I'm not great alone. Like if I travel alone, if I go into a room and I know no one, I'm not great in that environment.
No?
Uh,
Wouldn't you like be in a bar in like Tasmania and go like, hey, I'm the new guy in town, let's just hang out, everybody?
I'm
No?
terrible at this.
Really?
I'm good at this when it comes to dancing.
Okay.
Like when it comes to something that I enjoy.
So you start doing the dancing and everyone when they come, yeah, okay.
So this is why I feel like it's my icebreaker. My icebreaker generally is doing something in front of people, and then them feeling
Then feeling it.
like my openness, my kind
Attract
of
them.
yeah, I attract
Yeah.
them. Versus me being the person who like storms a room and it's just like, hi, I'm Kevin, nice to meet you. You know,
Yeah.
I'm direct in other ways, but not
Okay.
in that particular
Not
way.
in a particular way. Okay, I get it. No, it's super too, like. So, I'm gonna go to house 2 because I wanted to leave this house kind of like not at the beginning because it's a house that personally it's very curious to me.
Okay.
Because I don't have a particularly beneficial energy in this house. Well, everything is beneficial anyway, but the house 2 is the house of Taurus. It's the house of the material things. You know,
Okay.
it's what you touch. It's ruled by Venus.
What I
you know.
touch,
Yeah,
the
it's the house
velvet.
of also the house of like beautiful things.
Sure.
But, I mean, it's kind of like the house of nature. It's at some point, but it's
Okay.
very linked to in this modern era to what you can create with what you do and your material resources and how much value you give to them, you know.
Fair.
And there you have, for example, no more, no less than also Libra and Venus. So Venus there, it's happy because like Venus is at home there. It's ruler of Taurus, and Libra, when Venus is there, is happy anyway. So I want you to take it to a level first very like big in like ethereal, and what is beauty to you?
Beauty to me is understanding. So, you know the whole phrase, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
I think beauty is actually understanding. So,
Mhm.
if you're able to share something with someone, or someone is able to get you, and there's this connection, I think that's what beauty is.
Okay.
So this kind of relationship, this like ability to relate. Yeah, that's how I define it.
Yeah, and for example, when you create something for a company, do you think about is this beautiful or not?
Because of the way I define it, I think of it as do enough people understand what we tried to do here?
To do here.
Like, do they find value in it? Do they understand its purpose, its
Okay.
intent?
So how do you feel with how do you relate to the luxury concept that goes like a little side
Yeah.
that towards this, because like luxury, for example, luxury companies are they sell that what they do is beauty.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and it's very intense these days.
Yeah.
And I have struggled with this concept because when you're a kid and you're bombarded with publicity and all these things, and they're saying, "Oh, this is beautiful. This is not."
Yeah.
Like, and of course, it's a price tag attached to it and an exclusivity attached to it. So, like, what are your thoughts on the luxury industry in general?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I mean, it's kind of an interesting topic tied to this first question, because I think luxury has always taken things that are beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
that everyone can relate to,
Mm-hmm.
and then tried to like gatekeep them.
Mm.
You know, it's like the luxury brands can afford to go
Yeah.
all over the world and find the most unique, interesting things,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring it to you,
Mhm.
but then charge you 18,000 euros.
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, wait, but this thing is free where you were, where you got it.
Yeah.
But this thing was like affordable, accessible, approachable, and now you've made it elite.
Yeah.
Why? You know? So I don't really love the capitalistic drive
Mm.
behind luxury, but I do have lots of value for collective luxury.
Yeah.
So co-op groups, like cultural immersion trips, like things where you're kind of, you get to visit luxury. You don't need to necessarily own luxury.
Mhm.
I think the industry is mostly around ownership and
Mm-hmm.
having your slice of it, but that's, you know.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I feel that it could. I mean, I love the concept of, like you said, of like, where is this coming from? Who is doing it? Everybody is kind of like well respected in their job, and their manufacturer is worth it. So that's why this is a little bit more expensive, for example. And yeah, I feel that way also, and I don't like the part of the capitalistic thing of saying, this will make you that in the eyes of the other, basically.
Yeah.
Because this is like this is the double-edged sword. It's like, of course, when we see some, I don't know, over the top, super expensive product, you can see the beauty in it. It's not like it's not there, you know.
No, mostly it's
It's,
there.
it's all, of course, it's beautiful, but how they attach all the other things to it, it's what makes it, you know, kind of like, I don't know, for me at least, a little disruptive, you know.
Yeah, I mean, luxury at its core has always been access. Access to the best diamonds, the best materials, the most interesting stories, the coolest people, maybe the rarest artifacts or resources. And then the secondary, let's say, luxury industry that is built on top of this access is the perception that you have had access to a thing that most people
The
don't.
perception of the other, that you are. So like you don't have to do the work that makes you connect to someone else. They just look at you and they
You show this thing off, that
they
means
talk,
that
they
you
talk,
had
yeah,
access to it.
exactly. Have you ever bought into it as a person?
I have some objects which are clearly from the, like, just luxurious items that I bought because they made me feel happy, maybe in like the Marie Kondo.
Yeah, we all been there. Yeah.
Joy
I
expression.
mean, once I bought. I mean, this is crazy. But once I bought a $2,000 bag.
Yeah, 'cause
This
you're
is
like,
crazy.
this is a
And
one-off
now I
purchase,
see it, and it's
but-
like, what was I thinking? This is crazy.
Yeah, I know they.
And I'm very against that.
One
now.
exact thing.
Especially if it's made from an animal. You know?
So I won't.
So I want to make that very clear. Is I'm not me anymore. I hate it. I think this industry needs to be fucking like the. Go. I don't even know.
Apple will agree with you. Apple is now banning all leather in their products.
That's amazing.
I love
Good
this.
Apple. Good for you, Apple. Thank you. Now we'll lower your prices, okay?
Exactly. So I won't mention my luxury item now because it's leather. But
I'm not judging. We're all
It's
in
in
the
the hallway.
process.
I'll
We're all in
show
the
you later.
process. I want to see it later.
but you know, there's these things that
Oh my god, it
look at
failed
that.
and it turned the fucking light off.
Well, it's meant
Well,
to be.
it meant to
Apparently.
be. It's let it on.
So maybe I should go grab the luxury item. I don't know.
I don't think that was a sign for that.
I should buy more things. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
No. So I think that luxury has always been about access, right? I think the second thing, which is becoming an issue culturally in society, is the perception of what it means to have that access.
Yeah, it's super diverse.
The value is going up so much, and you're like, wait, but no one's doing anything.
Yeah.
Like most people who have access to luxury have not earned it, nor was it really a goal. You know, like you either inherit access, you have lots of luck that is involved in getting resources, getting opportunities, and getting chances to do things. You know, chance. And then we just associate so much value. Like we assume people are smarter if they have access to luxury. We assume that, you know, so when we graft on these emotional concepts, these achievements, without any work to go with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is a thought process that I think everyone who has been drawn to it and or is drawn to it at this moment should do. You know, that thought process of like, oh, behind all these things that you're tagging people with, there's someone just like you,
Yeah, exactly.
basically. Okay, so I'm gonna go to house 11 in it because we have talked to of the first houses, which is where most planets are in your chart. I mean, I didn't have to go very into the collective unconscious here with you. We're getting close. We're in the 11th house, so
My
and
favorite
the
number.
11th house, and you in the 11th house have Mars, which is a very important planet in the chart. And also you have Gemini there. The 11th house is the house naturally ruled by Aquarius, and it's the house of hopes, dreams, community, and also groundbreaking things, you know, because in order to help the community, you need to think a little bit ahead on how to make their lives better.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mars is a planet where your passion is. Wherever Mars is, you're gonna put passion here, you know, and well, Gemini being the air sign that it's super comfortable here because they're brothers with Aquarius. So the difference in between Gemini and Aquarius, the Gemini likes to see everything but in a superficial way and like communicate it to everyone. And Aquarius just pick one thing and just go very deep and like transformative. But I want to know what is currently your passion.
Yes.
What do you feel passionate about now?
The timing is great, actually.
Okay.
So I just left this really large role.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer an executive, and I was letting it define me for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've decided that I want to be a community builder. Like
Okay.
I've done it organically.
Community builder. Oh my
I've
god.
done it for a while. Like we met at a community event. You know, I like being at these events. I like speaking. I like helping organize. But I think I'm ready to have my own, like to build my own. So I just decided that I'm gonna launch like a retreat / like a non-conference in about a year, and really put all the things that I'm passionate about in the event,
Oh my god.
and kind of create my own little community.
I want to be invited to this thing.
course.
Oh my god, I want to be invited to this thing. Oh my god, because like you are basically manifesting your Mars here because like it's all about community here. So what what is the form that this is gonna take? What is the topic that we're gonna deal with in this area that you're gonna build? I
Yeah,
wanna know.
so it's creativity, but in all forms. So
Okay.
It's not just design.
So
it's not just
basically unleash your creative self.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is creativity to you?
To me, it's an expression of passion.
Okay. Oh,
Thank
that's perfect.
It's just that's my like clean definition of it. And so I want people to be able to attempt things they've never tried before
Yeah.
with people who are experts in those things.
Oh,
So maybe first like having sushi, you love eating it, but
Yeah.
you've never tried making it.
Yeah.
So having someone who's an expert at making sushi teach sushi. Maybe tufting, so the making of rugs. Maybe surfing. Maybe like just different ways to express yourself in an environment that is conducive of you having, full vulnerability, making mistakes. Everyone's also
Safe.
there to learn. It's
Safe
safe.
environment.
Yeah, but also everyone's there to kind of express themselves and share stories, and the walls go down.
And connect.
Yeah, and connect.
Yeah.
So
Well, how Gemini? This is like done.
boom, perfect.
Oh my
timing.
gosh! Oh god.
The book fell. The lights came on.
Do you feel part of a particular collective besides your own, of course?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's funny. My friends,
Okay.
my closest friends, and I have a group chat. And we have a name for ourselves.
Okay.
And, and it's called the Coven. We're like a little coven of witches and
Love that.
warlocks, and I feel like that is like one of my strongest communities that I have. I've been in Barcelona for 2 years now, and I'm definitely part of the We Create Space community. And I've been a Pride organizer before, so I used to do events planning.
How many
managing
years have you been a
artists.
Pride organizer? Because you said it, you mentioned
ago.
it on the talk that you did,
Yeah.
that you organized Pride in Washington, was it?
Yeah, in Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did it for 4 years. Not the entire event, but I managed the artists arriving to perform. So, imagine Miley Cyrus or the RuPaul's drag queens coming to perform. You have to get their RV set up, towels, water, food, drinks, makeup, bathroom, security checks, everything. I was very much, as I said before, in the service mindset earlier in my career, earlier in my life. And now I'm in more of the curator, facilitator kind of headspace. And I want to be the one who kind of puts together the event, not just who executes, the day of.
What was that experience like?
Super fun. I mean, it's interesting. I've never found it to be, again, work. It's very, for me, like a personal service.
Yeah.
I want them to have the best time because they're coming to perform for a community that I am a part of, right? So I see my work as a contribution to the entire community. If they have great organization, if they come in and everything is set up and they have everything that they need and they want taken care of, they're in a good space to contribute and perform at their best, and the community gets to enjoy that expression of joy, and it kind of makes their whole day better. So for Washington Pride, there's always this concert day. So at the end of the day, on a Saturday, there's a fair, shops, things all day, then the concert. And so we're running around, they're coming from New York, from the airport, we're getting them food. I remember my favorite moment in my entire 4 years of doing this was, I think I had to get 100 chicken burgers for SZA. I had to go to to a regular restaurant, like a
Say,
fast
can you
food
manage
place,
this for me?
order a bunch of food, then they're like, did you mean to do 10 or 100? Is there an extra zero? And no, 100. And fries and drinks, and then take a truck and then go pick them up. And then everyone is looking at you as you take out,
Yeah.
100 people's worth of food, So things like that, and then also walking around in a store with 100 towels for the dancers to wipe their faces with, and just bizarre amounts of things at scale to put on an event like this.
Yeah,
And those moments are just hilarious. In the moment, you're like,
in the morning
people
you're
think you're crazy,
Yeah, you just
So.
I feel that you must have to go. How am I going to get through this day?
Yeah.
How am I get through this day? Let's
Yeah.
finish it.
And then there's moments where you kind of break out of the serious mindset where you're like, I look ridiculous. I'm holding 94 sandwiches. I'm holding 10 bags of food right now, and everyone's staring at you like you're crazy. I'm gonna do some food challenge outside.
So, when I arrived in Barcelona, I met a lot of people were kind of in the vibe of very anti-pride, but being queer.
Yeah.
Queer folks, but they saw pride like such a, way of commercialize all this thing,
Yeah.
What will, where is your position in that with them? 'Cause I have my, I actually kind of like understand it,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel that it doesn't help the community to be criticizing each other. So how do you feel with these people who are like, no, this is not how we're supposed to fight for equality? What
Fair.
would you say to them?
So I think parts of the community,
Mm-hmm.
specifically regions,
No.
have had
They
lots
tend to
of
dress black.
progress.
They tend to wear black clothes. Just kidding.
It's like I'm wearing blue.
Like, oh my god. Like, no, I'm just kidding.
But I think there's like parts of the world where the community has done really well in terms of progressing legally, society, safety wise, and several places have not changed at all.
Mhm.
Several places are currently regressing.
Mm.
And so depending on where
Yeah.
you are, there's a different environment, different
Yeah.
context. With that being said, I think we've kind of gotten collectively
Mhm.
so aware of what's happening all around the world that we can generally say things have gotten better than they were 100,
Yeah, for
200
sure.
years ago. With that has come this kind of
Counter movement.
like we've like lowered the value of having
Yeah.
these spaces where we are the
Such
owner,
noticing the
operator.
small things instead of the big
Yeah.
wins. You know.
And you know, like, we can go to like straight bars and
Yeah.
we can go places that are not dedicated to us and
Mhm.
feel fine and
Yeah.
comfortable
Yeah.
in mass or in small quantities. Workplaces are, you know, on average going in a positive direction. Things like this are actually making gay bars close. They're making queer spaces, you know, more uncommon because their core clientele, their core business is serving the community that no longer feels they have to go there.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what's now happening with Pride.
Yeah.
Well, I feel fine in this community. I have a house here. We have kids here.
Mhm.
Now you're seeing a multi-generational queer community exists, which didn't happen after the AIDS epidemic, and they're starting to pull back from these institutions that were created when essentially it was, you know, be proud in public or die.
Yeah.
So I think if people feel like they don't want to be part of the scene, you know, that's okay, but you have to realize that there are still 90% of the community that needs that scene to exist for the rest of the progress to be, you know, to exist. So I don't believe in shutting down these institutions and pulling back support because the job is far from being done. All the spaces are not safe. All the places have not had equal progress. So if you don't want to go, don't go. But there's no need to yuck
Yeah.
anyone's yum or
Yeah.
pull joy from other people who need that.
Exactly. Exactly how I feel. Okay. So, I want to go back to, because we're in the friendship house and I love this topic. So how, and you talked about it a little bit in the beginning of the conversation, how has been your experience of friendship among the years?
Yeah, friendship again is huge for me. It's super, super important. It's been very funny in terms of making friends. I think that like I make generally shallow friendships very quickly. So I'm like a quick connector.
Yeah.
But then there's a lack of depth in that, right? At a certain point, I think I was maybe super Leo on the social side, where I was like always going out, always making new friends, and then there's too many friends to have the depth with and keep in touch with. Then I was someone who was very transient, and I moved a lot.
Yeah.
So then these long distance friendships that weren't that deep to begin with, and you start losing people. And I took a big conscious effort before moving back to Europe to pick people who I would stay in touch with in the States. And so I think half my travel a year is like specifically visits to people who I really care about. And then, you know, I'm very selective about new friends, to be honest with you. Like I make new friends and it's great, but if I'm going to have like a 4-person dinner at home and I'm going to cook, you know, it's probably gonna be the same people from last time.
Yeah, I mean it's natural. We don't have all the time in the world.
Like we're gonna invest in people
Yeah,
you've had the
exactly.
longest.
Yeah. Well, you're still open to it.
Still
Yeah,
open,
you're
of
still
course.
open. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel that like for me it's the same. Like we go through a stage in our life where we're just like connecting.
Yeah.
But then we need to see who fits in more because we don't have the time for everyone. Because friendship is also, like you said, kind of you're investing
Yeah.
time, energy, love.
Yeah,
So
prioritization, right? I mean,
a lot of it, especially if part of your friends are gonna be chosen family. I love that. So I always ask two questions in my interviews when I am finishing.
yeah.
One is kind of like related to the 11th house, and is if you had tons of money to give away to everyone, what would be your charity focused on? You can make it
Ooh,
charity. What would you
I
what
like
will
this.
what will be your charity?
Okay, I love this. Interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting because it tells a lot about, I don't know, what is your current thing that you feel it's needed the most, that resonates more with you, you know?
So it's going to be a kind of complicated answer, but
To give it to them.
I wish people could spend a year in like the polar opposite environment that they're used to. So you
So are you going to throw rich people in jail basically as a charity? Oh my god, it sounded like that to me. Oh my god.
the opposite of wealth
Okay,
is not
elaborate on
jail.
that. Let me have some water.
Yeah, let me give you some examples. I think some people naturally experience this when they do like Erasmus or something.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say you come from like a very poor country and
Yeah.
you're a very impoverished family
Yeah.
in like a small country, and you get a scholarship for, you know,
A big
4
university.
years, big university,
Yeah.
big city, rich
Yeah.
country,
Yeah.
everything paid for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a culture shock on every level.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
geopolitical, economic, societal, everything, right? And I wish more people had access to those experiences. I think you learn so much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you learn more about yourself and other people,
Yeah.
and you kind of learn how to navigate almost any scenario where you're different.
Yeah.
It's just these like hyper contrast
Mhm.
environments. My life is kind of this,
Yeah.
and I always find that I'm drawn to people who have experiences with moments like this or
Mhm.
experiences like this, but I wish it was more common that people had
Yeah, have the opportunity.
an opportunity.
Yeah, the opportunity. It's very Oprah-like. I love it.
Everyone go build a well.
Very related, like so related to knowledge. I mean, yeah. If my cause wasn't the animal cause, I would totally go into that way.
I mean, we can do this together, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you call me in.
We have the
I mean,
offense, you know.
I can be a guide in somewhere for some. I mean, I like to be.
Everyone can have one emotional support donkey.
Yeah.
You know.
Love it. So, and my last question is more deep in general and kind of like hold to your essence and your experiential. So, I want to know what is the lesson that has taken you the longest to learn?
Hmm.
Think about it.
I feel like there should be awkward silence installed in the
No,
editing.
no, it's okay. I mean, it should be there.
It's like this is a very controversial opinion.
No, it's not. I mean, we're never meant to please anyone anyway.
Okay, this is gonna be weird. I don't love talking about myself, so this is funny.
All you've done is talk about yourself all the time. So anyway, you've been doing it.
I have a
so
separation.
You have a separation about like the deep emotion.
Things I've
And
done,
then
the
it's
past,
that,
but how I
but,
feel now.
But this is the moment where there's something that you feel that you've come a long way since you started this process, and then you identify. It's kind of like a question that made you go a little up in consciousness. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm trying to get the words straight. I think it's
Mhm.
like I am lovable.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think I spent so much time in my career, my passions, my family, with my friends, always moving kind of catering to other people, changing who I was, how I was presented, uh, being more
Shining your
outgoing,
light.
yeah, to purposely like
Mm.
bridge a gap or compensate.
Yeah.
But actually, like, I'm kind of realizing that I put on all of these layers on top of
Mhm.
who I actually
Yeah.
am, so that I can be like the best thing for X and the best things for these
Mm.
people, or at
Mm.
this job, or for
Mm.
this new country I live in.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, default me is fine. Default me is great.
Mm.
I should stop trying to please people.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's great. Well, I want to thank you for being with me here, opening the doors of your place for me and my sister. And it has been such a blessing and such an honor to get to know you a little bit more. Uh, this is like the first conversation that I have with Kevin since I met him, because like when I met him, I just said I'm interested in getting to know him, and I just approached him. So I I don't know, I'm super blessed. I feel great, and I hope
Energy is good.
you had a nice time
Yeah.
talking about yourself. and, and I encourage you to be more vulnerable about what connects us, what, because like it's the in the end it's the beauty of everything,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful, I don't know, for me it's like, what am I here for, so thank you, thanks
Thank
for
you.
everything. Oh,
Great energy. I love this.